Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and welcome to another Immortal vlog. I am your host, Immortal Rich, and today is the vlog you've all been waiting for. This is my US trip, and deciding to throw it in here, my friend Scorpius9472 and his wife's wedding. Now, before I get into this vlog, I have a disclaimer to make. This is going to be a very lengthy and detailed vlog, so if you have something to drink or you have something to eat, I suggest that you have it with you at this stage, because this is going to take some time. I'm going to be at this for a while, and I'm going to go into detail on the day-to-day of what I've gotten up to while I was in the US for the 2 weeks. So, now that I got that disclaimer out of the way, let's begin, shall we? Me and Scorpius were supposed to head up on the 17th of September, which is our departure date, but because we couldn't get a lift up that early for our flight, we have to go up ahead of time on the 16th of September to stay in the Travelodge Hotel in Cork. So, me and Scorpius stayed there for pretty much the night, and we got up around 5 AM to be prepared to get to the airport. And of course, the airport's only like maybe 5 or 10 minutes up the road from where we were, so there was no harm. So I said we arrived at the airport around 5:15 in the morning, and our flight wasn't until about 7:10, I think. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, I'm probably going to just put it in the annotation or put an actual time up in the video in post editing. But knowing that we knew that we had plenty of time still left to go, so we decided that me and him were going to get some breakfast, as, 5 in the morning, you're going to be hungry before taking onto a flight. So we decided to just get the simple, ordinary breakfast. I went with a usual toast with, I guess, for the Americans, bacon. For the Europeans, more like rashers. So I had that, so did Scorpius, and that was for our breakfast. Now, while we were waiting, I noticed that our flight that we were going to take was outside a window from where we were sitting. And I'm probably going to put the picture that I took of our flight on the screen right about now. So this was our flight that we took, the Aer Lingus A320 to Heathrow in London, England. So we left at around 7, well, I'm gonna keep saying 7-ish, but I'm probably gonna put the actual time post-production, as I can't recall the times. But we arrived in Heathrow around the 9 o'clock mark. By the way, any times that I'm incorrect, I'm most likely going to just put in post editing, so if you see like a time up in the corners of this video, you know that I was being corrected by myself in post editing. So you hear that, future me? Remember to put that in to the video. Anyways, sorry I went off topic there. Me and Scorpius arrived in Heathrow at around 9 o'clock-ish. It could be around that time, but we still had plenty of time to maneuver around. I think our flight at this time wasn't going to be until 11:35 from what I can gather, so we still had plenty of time. Me and him got some lunch in Heathrow at around 10:30, just something to keep us going for the flight on the way over to the US. So we were waiting around till the time that we had to go to our gate in Heathrow Airport. So we were just kind of discussing like what we were going to do, like plan what we had suggested and see what happens. Now, of course, when the time came to it, we immediately got to our gate, because the last thing we wanted to do is miss our flight. So let me explain this clearly. We got our tickets for the Virgin Atlantic airplane that we were going to get. Now, I would show you the picture right here. However, my phone died during the process of all this, so I couldn't take any pictures while I was, until I arrived at our destination. Now, what I'm going to say is this. We left Heathrow at around, I think it was around 11:35 or 11:45. It's one of those times for sure. And this was going to be a 7.5 hour flight. Now, this part's going to get a bit confusing, so try to see if you can figure this out. It took me a while to figure it out, but I'm sure it'll come easy to you at some point. But according to our schedule, we were supposed to arrive at an airport called Washington Dulles in just outside the city of Washington DC, and we were supposed to land at 3 p.m. Now, I know you may think that's not 7.5 hours, but when you think about it, I realized that 3 o'clock was the time in Washington that we were landing, not here in Ireland. I figured that out the hard way, but then again, that's jet lag for you, huh? Anyway, long story short, we got over to Washington Dulles at 3 p.m. their time. I will say their time because they were 5 hours behind us, so just making it clear. Now, when we arrived there, it didn't kind of start off so smoothly. We, well, how can I say this? We hit a little snag, which kind of resulted in me and Scorpius ending up in customs for about 3 hours. Now, it wasn't the fact that we got into serious trouble or anything like that, it was just the fact that we forgot to print out our return tickets. Whoops. That's our mistake on our behalf, but I'm sure you'll kind of get a laugh out of that. Now, the 3 hours, it wasn't mean that we were there for 3 hours because of us. It was the fact that there was me, him, and like 50 or 60 other people in customs at this time, and we were just on a waiting list. That's why it took 3 hours. Anyway, once we finished with customs, we left the airport and we met up with Scorpius on 472's wife, as she is now, and a friend of hers who came to pick us up at the airport. Now, from what I gathered, the trip to where she lives, and I will specify this, Scorpius on 472's wife is from a small little place in Virginia known as Yorktown. So that is the closest town to where she lives, and no, I'm not going to give away exactly where we were staying due to privacy reasons. But I will say that the nearest town we went to was Yorktown. So that's all I can give for now. But that trip from Yorktown from Washington was supposed to take about 2.5 hours. Then again, I would be keeping time, but at this stage, I was pretty much asleep. I was out for the count for pretty much the entire trip. So, we arrived back, as far as I can recall, I think, because we arrived at 3 p.m. on Washington Dulles, we were stuck there for about 3 hours, so we didn't leave the airport till about 6 o'clock in the evening, which meant we didn't arrive back till around 8:30-ish on that same evening. Sorry, I kind of hesitated there for a second because I was trying to think. But the point was, I would have been more time friendly if I wasn't actually asleep. But long story short, that's not the major thing. When we arrived in Virginia, we decided that because me and Scorpius were hungry, myself, him, and his wife decided that we were going to go to Subway in Walmart. And I'm actually going to enclose a picture right here. Yeah, this is me when we were just leaving Subway from Walmart in Yorktown, Virginia. As you can kind of see, I'm pretty exhausted, so forgive me on that one. Now, we arrived back at her place, or her parents' place I should say, for the night, and because me and Scorpius were jet lagged, we decided to kind of call in an early night. So that was the day of travel finished. The next day, we decided that we were going to kind of go out and about, kind of exploring a bit. Even though the first thing that had to come first was they needed to get information sorted, like their marriage certificate and whatnot. So what we decided to do was we went for a cold drink first, which we went to a smoothie bar, and this is the smoothie cups that we went to, and this way it kind of shows you the name of the place we went to. So I'm just going to leave the photo here for you to see. Now, being an Irish guy going into the US for the first time, seeing something quite that size, it's not something I'm used to because of the fact that I've never actually been abroad from my own home country, so this was a lot to take in. So, furthermore, after we got those smoothies for ourselves, we went off to the Yorktown courthouse where Scorpius and his wife needed to get their marriage certificate sorted out, so I kind of tagged along because why not? And this was my opportunity to kind of take in what I was looking at and seeing what I can pick up, and at the same time I was learning like quite a lot for myself. Like, for example, Yorktown, for those who haven't been there before, is a very historical town, as it has been a part of the American Revolution, and there is in fact a American Revolution museum located in Yorktown. Unfortunately, I never went to the museum there, but I'm sure for those of you who want to go to Yorktown, I say it's a good attraction to go and see. But once we got that done, we kind of traveled out and about, and you know, we just got the usual food on those days, and then we went back to their place where we found out at the time that they were trying to set up stuff for their wedding. So that was pretty good. We didn't do all that much on that day then. We just kind of lazed around the house and took it easy for a while. After all, we were both still heavily jet lagged from the trip over. But that was the change for the next day. So the next day came along, and we decided that we were going out traveling again. But this time it was for more supplies, not just for the wedding, but it was to help with the family and whatnot. So we did all that, and in case you're wondering, most of these days were kind of repetitive leading up to the wedding, so I'm going to save most of the details on that one. It was just the fact that we kept going out and about on a regular day, kind of helping out with preparing for the wedding. Anyways, long story short, leading up to September 20th, we decided that, well, we didn't decide, it was a dress rehearsal, for the wedding. So, of course, I decided to get myself prepared for wearing a suit. So did Scorpius, and they eventually got married on the steps of the courthouse. Now, I don't have any photographs of this because I didn't have my phone at the time. Yeah, the Virginia courthouse has very strict rules and regulations that doesn't allow mobile phones, so yeah, that's the reason why I don't have any photographs of that. But the whole scenario was done and dusted on that part. We went back. We were gonna go back to the house, but then we decided that we were hungry, so we stopped off at a popular sushi bar. Now, I can't remember its name, and I'm sure both of them are not going to be happy when they find out that I forgot the name of the sushi bar, but I'm sure they'll help me correct in the comments later on. But I have to admit, it was a very decent place. Like, we met up with her friend who came to pick us up in the airport, as well as meeting up with his wife's sister who was helping out with the rehearsals. So we had a bite to eat and we kind of left it at that. That was just what we did. We went back to the house and we laid around and just took it easy for the rest of the day, since we've been busy as hell for the rest of the morning. Now, because I didn't do much on that day, I'm just going to leave it on that. So, came the next day, the big day of all, September 21st, the day Scorpius 9472 got married to his amazing wife. And no, I wasn't forced to say that. I'm actually being genuine on this one, so you know who you are, and I'm just gonna leave it at that, because otherwise I'm gonna dig myself into a hole that I'm not gonna get myself out of. But yeah, September 21st, Scorpius 9472 and his wife's wedding. So this was the day, the big day. I'm sure he probably had nerves running high on that day, and so did she. Now, leading up to the wedding, we were all preparing for us to be in our suits, and here I am in my suit. Now you can imagine Scorpius 9472 would look almost identical to me. Well, not appearance wise, but you know, we had pretty much the same kind of suit to match. So you kind of get the idea. But once we got into our suits, we were all freshened. We were all freshed up, and we were good to go. Now, the next thing we did was we met up with the bridesmaids and the maid of honor on that day, and we went through a quick rehearsal of what was going to happen on that. So that's what we just did. Long story short, the wedding was a huge success. I'm going to kind of cut the audio here for a moment, or I'm just going to leave it silent, and I'm going to just have a little bit of my music in the background play away while I show you these footages and pictures that I've taken of their wedding. So, hope you enjoy. Okay, so as you can see, their wedding was a huge success. You know, we just kind of had a fun night throughout as the whole reception went by, and to be fair, I couldn't be happier for the two of them. And for you two, I know you're probably watching this, so I want to say a huge congratulations to both of you. And I hope you both have a happy life together, because you two definitely deserve it. Now, furthermore, we decided to party on late into the evening, and of course, we're Irish, so we partied right down to the very end of the evening, to a point where I can't even to a point where I can't even remember how I got to bed at night. Anyway, moving fast forward onwards to the next morning, I wake up and my god, my head wasn't right. It's not often for an Irishman to get a hangover. I know stereotypes there saying, oh, because we drink we don't suffer all that bad. No, we do very badly. Anyways, we decided that today, because Scorpius Hunt for 72 and his wife rented out a cottage for them to stay at, I stayed with the family, so we decided that we were going to a small little town called Williamsburg. And, well, I think it's called Williamsburg. I could be wrong on that one. I'll probably just put in post-production saying if I'm right or wrong. But, to be fair, it's another very popular historical site and very interesting tourist attraction. Now, again, I couldn't take any photographs here. It wasn't for reasons unknown, but it was just the fact that my phone just could not handle the heat, at this time. So the only pictures I could take in Williamsburg was the menu situated here, where we were having our lunch, which, if you can't see it, it was called the Dog's Inn. So that's pretty much it. That was the only pictures I could get from Williamsburg before my battery in my phone decided to die due to the heat. So I have to admit, Williamsburg was a brilliant place to experience. I would recommend anyone in the area, or recommend anyone who's interested in history, to attend Williamsburg, because the demonstrations were amazing, and just listening to the history of what the town has to offer, unbelievable. I cannot give it any better description of what I just did. It's a sheer 10 out of 10 for me. So we were there for like a couple of hours, and then we decided that me and the rest of the family decided to kind of head back to the house, while Scorpius Hunt for 72 and his wife went back to the cottage. So not all that much happened. I just kind of helped tidy up the house afterwards when we got back, and that'd be that. So I don't have all that much more information to give. Like, there were a few times we went out and about while we were there. Now, when I say out and about, we decided that we were going to kind of explore a little bit more around Yorktown as well as Williamsburg once again. And I do apologize, I did not get any pictures here. But however, Scorpius Hunt for 72 and his wife did introduce me to a very interesting place where we can go for food. And this place was called Golden Corral. Now, for those of you who've never heard of Golden Corral before, it's a all-you-can-eat buffet kind of steakhouse, and I have to admit, it was the best experience I've had there. Like, we went back there several times when we were there, and I could not imagine, like, how this was not international. And again, it probably is, and probably just didn't do my research properly on this one. But it was an amazing place to go, and I would recommend anyone who's interested in those all-you-can-eat places. Golden Corral is the best one you can go to by far. From all the ones I've been to myself, I think that's the best one out of the whole lot. So, on top of that, we didn't do all that much. We spent most of the time kind of just exploring around the area where Scorpius Hunt for 72's wife was situated, as well as just going out and about for a few days. Now, I will admit, as it was coming up to the end of the trip, we did decide that we were going to one special place, and that was the trip to Washington, D.C. itself, the state capital of the United States. Yes, I know I probably just butchered that, forgive me. But this was a trip I was the most excited about because this was the place I wanted to attend all this time. Because when you think of Washington, D.C., yeah, I can imagine you're probably all thinking, oh, D.C., you're thinking about Donald Trump at this stage. But for me, there was a lot more about Washington, D.C. that caught my attention, and that was to see the memorials up close and personal for myself. So, without further ado, I'm not going to go into too much detail about this. The only thing I will show are pictures that I've taken. So, once again, I'm going to let the music play while I show you these images that I've taken. So, hope you enjoy. And so far, that's kind of all the pictures I've taken. It's not the fact that my phone died or anything I just stated, it was just the fact that afterwards there wasn't really much left to take pictures of in DC, as me, Scorpius, and his wife were kind of getting hungry at the time because we did leave for DC at like 4 a.m. that morning, so we were tired and we were hungry and we were walking around all day, so we decided that we were going to rent out these electronics, sorry, don't know where the electronicals side came from, but we got these electric scooters to bring us to a very interesting part of the city, which led us to a very interesting part of Chinatown. And looking through all the bars that we needed to see, they weren't all the best. They, I will put it in some ways, I'm not disregarding any places here in Chinatown, but most of them kind of looked a bit shady as they looked slightly run down. But we did come across a very interesting bar in Chinatown called the Irish Channel, and I could not believe the fact that this was as close to an Irish pub that I can think of. I really felt at home here. I guess you could say it was like a tourist's idea of home in a foreign area. So we all decided that we were going to get a bite to eat here, and we got a couple of drinks while we were there. Now, non-alcoholic drinks, that is, because after all, we drove to DC. So, once we had our fill of food, we decided to head back to the car, and we decided to drive home. I can't recall what time we arrived back at, but it was late in the afternoon when we arrived back. But because we were all tired as well, we decided to kind of have a small rest while we were taking it easy, and that was pretty much it. We didn't do all that much after that. We got up, went out, got takeout in Olive Garden, and Olive Garden, for those of you who are wondering, is a Italian restaurant where I have to admit, their food is fantastic. I got myself I'm probably gonna butcher this, it's a chicken Alfredo kind of main for myself, but their breadsticks were amazing. I could not find anything wrong with those. So we went there, and we brought another friend of Scorpius and 72's wife with us to Olive Garden, so we all kind of got food for ourselves. Came back and we played a couple of board games. So, leading up to about 3 days before we decided to come back, we decided that from where we were situated, we found out that there was actually a comic book store just down the road from where we were. And of course, me and Scorpius are massive fans of the card game Magic the Gathering. So we assumed that maybe we can find some booster packs or starter decks there. So we decided to go to this little comic book store, and we actually somehow managed to get his wife into the game, which I have to admit, she's actually quite decent at it now. So once we got her into it, we just decided for the remainder of the days we were there, we were just going to be going to places like Walmart and Target looking for booster packs. And we got a couple of interesting cards, and we managed to build up some decent structure decks for ourselves. So throughout the remainder of the days, we decided that we were going to be playing like a lot of Magic the Gathering and kind of playing other board games with her friend who I mentioned from earlier on. And we decided that this was a lot of the fun that we were going to have. However, all things must come to an end at some point. So this is where I lead up to October 2nd, the day me and Scorpius leave the state of Virginia to come back home. It was more of a sad day, especially for him, as his wife couldn't join us on the way back, but I'm sure by the time this goes up, she's already with us here in Ireland at the moment, so that's a good positive note. But at the time of recording this, which is on the 7th of the 10th, she is currently not here at the moment, so it was kind of a bummer for him. But she should be here by the end of the week of this video going up, so that's a positive note. However, going back to the story, our flight from Washington back home wasn't leaving till about 6:10. So we decided that the moment we got up, it was pretty much time to go packing. We had to pack our suitcases, we had to make sure we didn't leave anything behind. And we kind of lingered around the house for a while, up to about 1:30. The minute 1:30 came around, me, him, and his wife all pretty much left the house to pretty much take a drive back to Washington DC to end up back at Washington Dulles. Now, from here, we arrived like an hour early for our flight, so it gave us time to kind of relax, take it easy, and eventually we boarded our flight from Washington Dulles to Heathrow. And once again, just like it was coming over, it was a Virgin Atlantic, which I must admit, they were very sound out, and as a first time flyer, I actually really enjoyed it. Now, I'm going to just diverge off of this vlog for a second to talk to you guys. For any of you who've never flown before, or you're a first time flyer, I would probably say, if you've had any fears about flying, it's not really all that bad. For myself, I went through most of my life being petrified of flying because I didn't know what to expect. Thanks to Scorpius, he managed to help me overcome that fear, and now I have no problem flying around the world anymore. And to be fair, it is a very fun experience, especially after you get over the first time. Anyway, back to the story. We decided that we were going to kind of just rest for the rest of the journey because we were going to be traveling throughout the night. So there was no point in us kind of being awake for all that long. once we had a bite to eat and whatnot, we decided that we were going to get some shut-eye. Anyways, by the time we got a nap in and woke up, we were closing in on Heathrow again. So this was around 7 a.m. on Thursday, the 3rd of October. So we prepared everything so that nothing was in the way. I made sure my bag was tucked in properly. I put up the the food board or the tray as as directed. So that was pretty much it. So we touched down on Heathrow's. Well, we touched down at Heathrow, I should say, at about 7:30. Now, our gate didn't appear on the board till about 8:40, or yeah, I think it was about 8:40. So we still had like an hour and 10 minutes or something to wait while our flight was being checked in. So we were just kind of waiting around in the departure gate for the gate to show itself, and when it did, we went straight there. Again, we arrived at the departure gate to be greeted with an Aer Lingus, it was an A320 bus. So we ended up going from Heathrow to Cork, and we decided that it was going to be just a 1-hour flight because it's only a 1-hour flight between Heathrow and Cork, so that was all well good. However, the flight back to Cork wasn't all that great because as we were flying into Cork, we kind of got into the after effects of Hurricane Lorenzo, as we found out was coming from the Atlantic Ocean and came in to strike Ireland just as we were coming home. So yeah, we left sunshine and fine weather to be greeted by a hurricane. So how fun is that? Anyway, long story short, we touched down at around, like, our flight left at 9:30, so we made it in at around 5 to 11 in Cork, and from there we decided to spend about an hour or so in Cork City, and it just led us back home after that. Now, Scorpius and I, when we got back to my hometown, we decided to kind of separate for a while. Not in a bad way, it was the fact that he went home to have a rest. I went home for myself to rest, and I decided then, once I got up the next morning, was when I was going to make the vlog that appeared before this one. So, long story short, that was what I've got to say about my US vlog and my experience. Now, the thing I'm going to say is, what do I take out of this? Before I went to the US, I was petrified of flying, but now I feel like this journey that I've taken, especially thanks to Scorpius, I have now been open to a wide, vast world, and I'm hoping to maybe do more of these traveling vlogs. I might do them as a day-to-day thing through a phone instead of like just trying to recall everything all at once. And if you guys want to see any more travel vlogs that I do, or if you guys want to have me do more travel vlogs as I travel around the world, then let me know if you want me to do that, and I can be sure to get around to it. But for now, I'm going to leave it here and kind of get into the mindset again of returning to my live streams, which will happen tomorrow at the usual time at 10:30 my time. So that would be 10:30 GMT. For now, guys, I want to thank you all for sitting down for listening to my stories and my content of what I had to give. As you can imagine, this is kind of going on for well after 40 minutes plus, so that's pretty much all I've got time for. So thank you all for watching. If you want to see more of what my channel's got to offer, feel free to subscribe to my channel down below, and also click that notification bell, and you'll also be notified when I go live or whenever I upload another video. So thanks again, guys. This is Immortal Rich. Ye are the Immortal Army, and you are all dismissed. Until the next time.